What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03, and I'm eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In this video, we're going to talk about some breaking news, and that is that Luke Walton will be joining the Detroit Pistons as an assistant coach. We'll go over Luke Walton, his resume in the league as a player, as a coach briefly, and then towards the back half of the video, we're going to do kind of a general coaching roundup. We now have 5 assistants that are confirmed to be assistant coaches for the Pistons under JB Bickerstaff. So we'll do a quick run through and get everybody kind of tuned in and caught up with exactly who will be the assistant coaches this year. So let's hop right into it. So Luke Walton actually has a pretty storied time here in the NBA. I was first introduced to Luke Walton as he played against the Detroit Pistons in the 2004 finals as a member of the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, son of the great Bill Walton, who recently just passed, so rest in peace. But nevertheless, Luke Walton did spend actually 10 years in the league as a player, most of the time with the Los Angeles Lakers. Right after he retired, he went straight into being a coach, joining the Memphis Tigers on the collegiate scene before moving his way up to the D-League before eventually falling underneath Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors as an assistant. He spent 2 years underneath Steve Kerr as an assistant, and personally, I think that's great experience. I know over the past few years, Steve Kerr has kind of gotten knocked a little bit as a coach. I think that's just ridiculous. I think Steve Kerr is one of the best in the business. I think the 4 titles speak for themselves. He did have lots of talent. But either way, I just think that's a really great place to get kind of your feet wet in the NBA as an assistant coach. After he spent 2 years with the Warriors, people thought pretty highly of him, so he was hired to coach the Los Angeles Lakers. He spent 3 years as the head coach of the Lakers. During kind of a weird time, he originally came on before LeBron got there, and then he was the coach when LeBron originally got there, but the roster was kind of weird because it was LeBron before they traded for AD. So inevitably, he did get fired before getting a second head coaching chance with the Sacramento Kings. He then spent 3 years with the Sacramento Kings before getting fired from there. After that time as a head coach for 2 different teams, he eased back into an assistant role, actually underneath JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland, where he spent the past year and a half or so as an assistant for the Cavs. So overall, I'd say Luke Walton has a lot of good NBA experience as a player and as a coach. I didn't know for sure if Bickerstaff would be bringing over a lot of his guys from his staff in Cleveland, but the fact that Luke Walton's on his way now, it does look like that's going to be pretty likely, especially considering that last week we did get an announcement that Sidney Lowe would also be joining the team. Sidney Lowe was another person who was an assistant underneath JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland. Sidney Lowe actually spent time with the Pistons prior to being with the Cavaliers. He was here during that Dwayne Casey era, the Blake Griffin era as an assistant. So he has some familiarity with the franchise, and then he also has some familiarity with JB Bickerstaff. So overall, these 2 guys coming along with him from Cleveland, I think is a good thing. I think it's going to make the adjustment easier for Bickerstaff. I think that they both have very valuable NBA experience, and I have no reason to think that either of these guys are not suited for assistant coach roles in the NBA. So another guy that we know will be on the staff is Jarrett Jack. And the reason why we know that is because he was just announced as the Summer League head coach for the Pistons. Jarrett Jack was actually with the organization last year underneath Monty Williams, and I don't know, I kind of liked him. We didn't get a lot of info from Jack as far as, what he was actually doing or contributing, but he did get pulled off to the sideline reporters. If you're watching the games on Valley Sports Detroit, they pull him off to the side every now and again. And I don't know, there was definitely times where I felt like he was kind of trying to get in and out of those interviews pretty quick. But either way, I like Jarrett Jack as a player. I think that, guys who are backup guards like him in the NBA for some reason just seem to be pretty smart in general. So definitely happy he's still around and kind of excited to see him back out there in the Summer League here coming up starting tomorrow. Another guy that we have added to the assistant coaching role, and honestly, I'm not really sure if he's more of a player development coach or more of an assistant coach. I don't really know how that falls, but it's Fred Vincent. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about him. There's been more talk about Fred Vincent than probably any assistant coach I've heard hired to the Pistons in all of my years watching. And that is because this dude is known as the shot doctor around the NBA. In New Orleans, there has been loads of players who have had broken jump shots, and they fixed them during their time with the Pelicans. Lonzo Ball comes to mind. Herb Jones comes to mind. I'm drawing a blank, but there was another kind of big one there that was a claim to fame. But they all contribute their improvements to Fred Vincent. This guy is apparently up there as like 1A, 1B best shot doctors in the NBA. And Lord knows that's going to help our team a lot. If he can help Asar or Ivy or any of these guys really who are mediocre or poor shooters improve, I mean, he's worth his weight in gold just for that. So if, it works out as well in Detroit as far as fixing jump shots as it did in New Orleans, we'll be a lot better team because of Fred Vincent. So that pretty much wraps it up here. Of course, JB Bickerstaff is going to be the head honcho, the man in charge. I'm really liking what I'm seeing as far as the people he has brought on, people he's bringing around. He's bringing 2 guys at least from the Cavaliers team, so he'll be familiar with those guys. There will be an established kind of hierarchy and, know your role type of thing. There's not going to be a whole lot to smooth out as far as that goes. I'm sure they'll pick up right where they left off in their time with Cleveland between Bickerstaff, Walton, and Sidney Lowe. And, these other guys like Jarrett Jack and Fred Vincent probably will fit in and things will work out pretty well. So overall, I'm liking how the coaching staff is shaping up. I will definitely have another video out tomorrow previewing the first Summer League game against the Philadelphia 76ers. After that game, I'll probably have a post game as well. So just wanted to keep you all in the loop on how that's looking for the rest of the weekend. And I'll talk to y'all soon.